What's going on, you guys? It's Daniel with the Orange Shirt Crew, and today we're going to be going over Austin, aka Gunchy's top 38 Ascent Boston deck profile. But before we get into the video, a special thanks and shout outs to Modern Tabletop for sponsoring the team and this video. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get right into the video. What's going on, guys? We are here with the man himself, Gunchy, aka Austin Britt of the Orange Shirt Crew, Mr. 38th place, piloting what deck?
This weekend I was piloting Seiryuu. Win Seiryuu.
Go
Alright,
ahead and hop right into it.
let's get into the material deck. We're going to start off pretty standard. We got Spirit of Wind and the full Guoja lineage all the way through level 3 to turn on that good old DG to 3 play, get the 5 quest counters for your Fate Stone, which of course we're playing the Azurite Fate Stone. So we get the 10, drop the man himself, Seiryuu. Just does so much work both offensively and defensively. Then you got your pretty standard draw options just to keep the game going. Tengu, of course, is just backup charger. That's better for Guojia because you get your quest counter. Leads to some more efficient lines of play. GCR needs no explanation. And then Reliquary is just an amazing choice when you're playing down on influence, which you usually are.
I will ask right off the bat. So I've seen one or two lists. Now, I don't know if this is correct, but I did see one or two lists that weren't playing Reliquary and playing backup charger. What's your opinion on that? And playing these two as
well? Yeah. I feel like it's a preference thing. It really comes down to play style. If you tend to stay high on influence, backup charger could get you that draw that you need in time of need. There were a couple times that I couldn't get the Reliquary draw when I needed it. But I feel like it's just such a good pressure piece because it also your opponent doesn't want you to draw 2 every turn. So if they're trying to stay lower on influence than you, then it's just as effective. And then in addition, when you are turboing to 3, you're going to usually be lower on influence, especially in like a meta that has things like Ryle and Creative that are creating these big value plays and staying so high on influence. Then we get into the defensive options. Sensor, of course, for the Ryle decks, like I was just talking about, and it stops a couple other choice things like March Hare. Safeguard Amulet honestly didn't come up a whole lot this weekend, but it is still just such a good defensive piece. And Nullifying Lantern, again, you never know when you're going to need it, and I'd rather have it than not.
True. So a lot of people are going to ask, obviously, since you didn't lay it out, you don't play Terrafring in your deck. Why did you choose Safeguard Amulet over something like Terrafring?
Because I had the big Taunter in Seiryuu, and I main decked those Resolute stands to just really tank those ally hits, so Terrafring was less valuable to me.
Makes sense.
And then here's the first piece of tech that we were talking about. I actually played the Shard of Empowerment. It doesn't come up every game, but I do end up playing it most games to get that extra value to keep cards in hand. It never feels bad to empower more on an Arcane Blast. It really makes those turns that you don't see the Seiryuu's command really impactful. And it can turn one where you don't necessarily have a ton in your banishment. You can turn on Byaku's command and still be able to do an Arcane Blast. You can generate the one if you're out of blast, and then empower, and then crack the shard, and still get it off and potentially keep cards in hand.
So, do you really feel that that card is a mainstay piece, and say something like, obviously, Seiryuu decks across the board?
I don't know about across the board. It definitely fits the way I play, and I like using it. But it's definitely not for everybody. But if you're talking terms of efficiency and how I think about it when I'm playing, if I'm deciding between making this or a GCR, if I have Arcane Blast, sometimes this is essentially a draw too if I'm trying to use the cards for efficiency.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Let's go ahead and hop into it.
Yeah. Starting off, we got Bestial Frenzy. I brought it because going into an ally heavy format, it's nice to have a cleave. And Sherry is a great target for it. You can also crack it on Panda if you have those flipped and get some good early value. Then you got the staple, of course, Dungeon Guide. The easiest way to get the Seiryuu is the Dungeon Guide to 3. You get 5 counters for it. It's a very efficient play and never feels bad. And you got your Forest Cakes. Again, very standard card neutral play. Gotta love it. Um, Card neutral plays on turn one can lead to pandas turn two. Here's my first tech piece of the deck. Play Limitless Slime. There's a lot of good beaters in available tamers and wind in general. Like you got the new Growth Sword, who's a 2/3. Once you hit level one, that you can fast activate. You've got Horn Knight, which can be a 3/2 when it's attacking allies. Like there's a lot of good allies. I chose Limitless partially because I played it back before DTR came out when I was playing Geldis and Slime's Blessing. Um, yeah, if you look at my PA list, it was there. Um, but it just Limitless just gains more value throughout the game. Like once you hit level two, it's by itself a 2/4, and when you crack cake on it, it's just a beast.
And it also has floating memory because why
Hey,
not?
floating can turn Beseech into a dungeon guide, so
It can indeed.
hey, Seiryuu doesn't love float, but you can make use of it in tight situations.
Would you count that as like a alternate win con and or pressure piece?
Oh, definitely. If you have a cake sitting on board, because like you're not spamming allies in Seiryuu, so sometimes your cakes will sit there, or you save them for a specific thing. Because like if you make a panda, you can't crack it on panda because it's already there. However, you can crack it on something like a limitless slime. You're level three, you swing, you have something that's two buffs on it. Is then a 4/5. It's a big threat,
True.
and you can definitely apply that pressure, and it's just going to get bigger every turn.
Definitely.
And that's ultimately why I like it over some other. Then we got the res stand, which I mentioned earlier. Um, definitely feels very good in this format. There's a lot of combat damage coming at you. I like res stand because you can play it against to protect Seiryuu as well as yourself.
I didn't. I completely forgot that you can rest.
Yeah,
That sounds gnarly.
it definitely saves Seiryuu a lot. Um, I really like it. And then the next piece of tech, Unyielding Wraithguard. This card is absolutely great. I used to play Swift Recruit in the deck. I just took those out and put these in. Like I said earlier, you don't really need a lot of float for Seiryuu. Outside of turn one, you want to banish cards. Um, this has Taunt, does the job twice. He comes back, on death trigger, bounces him around sensor, so you're not interfering with it with your own sensor. He just does a phenomenal amount of work, especially in those early turns against allies. You can just take 2 hits from him at minimum, and it definitely buys you time.
Crazy. How much did that come up? You know, as we're getting into the wind here, how much did that come up like throughout the entire day?
When I saw it, I played him most games. There were some matchups like Luxem where he wasn't the most useful. I did turn him into a useful ally in one of my matchups, but they're yeah, they're definitely against ally matchups. It's just invaluable because they have to. Like I played against a couple water ally players, and he's like, dude, I, you just drop them turn after turn. They have to waste 2 swings into it. It takes a lot of their damage away from them.
Let alone when you play Bestial Frenzy
To cleave on the
to
clapback.
cleave the clapback. That's so crazy.
All right, let's get into the wind side of the deck. You got the 3 of Ace and Protector. I'm always back and forth on this card. Everybody tells me it's a must-have in wind. Um, and I kind of agree. I mean, you have a 3/4, and you can pick up an ally, so you can make him influence neutral. And you got your baby greens. Just centerpiece of the deck. A card I still need to play more efficiently, and definitely learned that throughout the weekend, where I was thinking back on some matches and being like, I had a baby green hand. I could have done something cute, but unfortunately, I wasn't able to take the Jin matchup with baby green. But I tried. They just have too many cards now.
That sounds about right.
Yeah. Siege the Winds and Siege Fatestone. Obviously, not every dragon plays the full turbo package. I, however, like the getting up fast and getting your counters, especially when you pull one of like these turn one, is massive. Although it's not always the best to rip this turn one. I did have a game where I ripped it turn. I had a dragon on turn two because I ripped this turn one, leveled to 2, and then dungeon guided. Um, Not always the best thing. You have like one card in hand afterwards, but it can win games.
That sounds crazy. So I know a lot of lists, as we're going to get into the next part of the deck. I know a lot of decks play board beseech, the winds. Why do you only play three?
Started off as I only had the three, and then it just kind of it never felt bad, so I kind of just kept running it.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah, not a great explanation, but
Hey.
I'm honest. All right, then we got the three brisk wind trotter. This guy can just be the MVP in some matches. Like, two buff counters is just insane. Um, I was talking about building a Wraith Guard earlier. It's because I got 6 buff counters on him after I had Dragon down. Yeah, definitely not the play you ever plan to make, but when you get forced into a corner, you do what you can. Then we got your Byaku's command, of course. This is what makes, outside of the turbo engine, this is what makes playing Seiryuu and win the best. Is Byaku's command is just so good for Seiryuu. When you're on attack triggers, you can wake up. You can play it defensively. They're tapped. They swing into your champion or swing into one of your allies. You can wake them up. Be like, okay, you have to swing here now after that first attack goes through, and it can totally change their entire game plan. It also puts a buff on Seiryuu, making him harder to kill and doing more damage, and it's just an amazing card for the deck. Next up, I was playing 2 cleansing reunions in an attempt to stifle some of the value coming out of Ryle. When it came up, I usually played it, but a lot of times I didn't have it in hand when I needed it to. Probably because I only played 2, but it doesn't feel great. It feels okay.
We've now figured out that card's bad.
Well, you're going down a card to keep up with their influence neutral play. It feels okay if they don't have anything else in hand, but if they have the gas to just keep going, it most times does not matter. And of course, you're playing wind, you got to play Dream Fairy. There's allies that are just a pain to deal with. Actually, I had a matchup where there was a Dakyao on board that just locked down my board with frenzy counters, and I couldn't do anything for a while. And then I eventually drew the Dream Fairy. I was looking for Dream Fairy or one other ally because I had a Limitless in hand. I was looking for Dream Fairy, one other ally, just something to play 2 to swing out to unlock my board. Finally found the Dream Fairy and got there. Then we got another amazing defensive option coming out of Wind and Innervate Agility. Gives stealth and spell shroud to your entire board, which is also great because you can save Dragon with it. When they go for the turn to just try to kill Dragon. On top of that, you're de-leveling, recovering 5 for the level 3. You can level back up for free if you still control your Shenju, which if you cast this, you should be controlling it at the end of turn. And then recover another 3. So you're recovering 8 out of a card and neutralizing potentially an entire turn. Then we got 3 Stifling Trap. Of course, you want to be playing these on Dungeon Guides, and I did double Stifling Trap and Dungeon Guide one time this weekend. But another use for it is it does just do 2 damage. So it can be really good at helping in that ally matchup where you need to get something like an Arthur off the board, but you only have a Windmill Engineer. Or Baby Green. Like you can poke it for 1, kill it on 2. Arthur, Red Hair, all of them.
Sadie at home, baby.
Exactly. You can kill Sadie with it. Force him to do it. And of course, the Trained Hawk. I've always been back and forth on this card, but it's hard to argue with True Sight and Vigor. And you crack a couple cakes on him, he's just a beast. He's hard to kill. And Sadie can't kill him without dying herself. So
seems like a good trade there. I
yeah,
like that.
Definitely take those. Next up, of course, we got Windmill Engineer. Just a crazy card neutral play. When you have Windmill into Asen on those turn 2s, you just get 4 damage, and it's just all entirely card neutral. Of course, just a great win card. Now we got our Arcane package. I play 3 Harness Lightning and 4 Seiryuu's Command. Seiryuu's Command is almost always a guaranteed blast if you have that 1 Arcane in Banishment. It is always a guaranteed Arcane Blast, so it's definitely a threat. play that, you have minimum 15 damage for the turn. Harness Lightning is just another amazing card that combos with Byaku's command because it's flexible in the sense that you can either choose to empower 4, again, to extend those plays where you can't empower a whole lot, or you can just slap +4 in Seiryuu and swing twice with Byaku's command, which is a crazy amount of damage.
Now we're hopping into the sideboard here. I know there's some stuff we discussed about the sideboard.
There's definitely some things where I could improve for the sideboard and main deck, and we'll be making improvements going into the next events, but for later time. First off, we got the Nullifying Mirror. Given that I did play into 3 Luxems this weekend, it definitely comes up. It's not always the most useful, but you get value out of it regardless.
Gotta play.
Of course, almost on everybody's sideboard, Crystallized Destiny. You know, you don't want to take those big hits. It's useful against things like Jin or Merlin that's going to be throwing fireballs at you, or just anything that, or other dragons that hit you for 11 on Arcane Blast. It's just really good at preventing that damage. It's a little harder when you're playing into the Ryle format when they have so much influence and most people just have the end cap. So, like, an example, Jin, they'll have the end cap for it, and not a whole lot. Next up, I have Exposed Darkness. This was kind of something I was trying out. I like the idea of it, but it didn't ever come up. I was siding in a lot of times when I saw them having smoke bombs, or if I was playing against Win and thought they would have an innervated agility or something like that to stop me from getting my Seiryuu triggers, because that is a common answer, is to go stealth, so I can, before I swing, so I can't get any triggers for the turn. That can really slow down my game plan. But I could also target anything they target with smoke bombs and just remove the stealth immediately,
And draw a card.
and then replace this card in my hand and have my taunt back up.
That's crazy. I think that was a very choice card that I definitely could see coming back up in the meta for sure.
Oh, it's definitely a very valuable card, especially as we get more stealth allies like Cheshire.
Oh yeah.
And of course, the bane of Dragon's existence is Wind Assassin with Ensnaring Fumes, which I was very happy to not see at all this weekend. We do have the Staggering Strike. Even when, like, any prep counters, I brought it in against my Water Allied players. You get force them to use Trapper counters, just kind of control their game plan a little bit. Next up, we got this insane card from Distorted Reflections in Regal Inquisition. I had this in main at one point. I'm still going back and forth on putting it back in the main. It's just insane. Like, at worst, it's entire hand value knowledge. Like,
that card is, I think, Once in Love, Dan, and Isaac were talking about it. That is the MVP, other than Fluffy Shocky.
Of course,
Fluffy Shocky. Think Regal Inquisition is probably the best card that they printed out of almost any.
Yeah, it gives you knowledge, and then the more knowledgeable you are in each matchup and what can be problems for you killing you or problems for you stopping you from killing them, you just do it and rip it out of their hand, and it can be huge.
Did you feel like you were bringing that in every matchup, or did you feel like you were bringing that in, say, just against Luxem?
I brought it in almost every. I didn't bring it in against any aggro matchup or heavy ally matchup. There's not really anything you can rip that they can't just redraw. Definitely brought it in against a lot of level 3 decks that want their advanced element cards, like Luxem and Jin. Next up, I thought I'd bring back the Gazelle.
We tried so hard.
Unfortunately, it never came up this weekend. But the idea was going into decks like Merlin or Lorraine that have a ton of influence and rely on those swings. Yeah, it's just hard to get through. However, Jin does not care. Jin will just punch over it every stand and kill you anyways.
Yeah. Proof of life.
And then of course Luxem, like, they care about it for striking Illuminance, but they can also just Light Weavers assault you to death.
So now that we've gone over the deck a little bit, this is going to be a little bit of a longer portion of the video, but we're going to hop into what were your matchups throughout the day? So I know we kind of took a little record of it because you went overall. Your win loss was 8-5.
8-5, correct.
Okay, so what did you play against round? Let's just go ahead and hop into it. Let's go
All right,
round one.
we'll go round by round. Round one, I played against Fire Grogia. Um, Good old Fire Chicken. Um, it took a game off me. I went 2-1 in the matchup, but Onion and Wraith Guard again puts in a lot of work there, along with Resolute Stand, and then once you get Seiryuu up, you're in a very good place for the matchup because you can output a ton of damage and take advantage of them staying on level 1 while you got level 3 and you have a big taunt.
Sure. Who did you play against round two?
Round 2, I went against another fellow dragon player. It was Braden from main deck. He was playing a heavier ally package and didn't have the Beseech or the Fate Stone, and it was rough. I had a couple bad draws and then just got ran over by the allies.
His choice, his deck choices,
He's a very great opponent.
is so great. I
Yeah.
can't believe he came up with a list that's
It,
like, you know what? I don't need turbo. I just need
he's
allies.
another player that knows how he likes to play and plays it how he likes.
100%.
Definitely is very good at controlling the board. Next up, I went against a Rain Goddess playing Serene Fire Jin. Um, they got that 2-1. I did get a game off when I was able to blitz them down before they became immortal. It's usually my game plan against Jin because it's easier that way. But they always have the Dungeon Guide, especially now with all the card draw they have. Definitely some good games. Made me miss Valiant Breeze because of Relentless Outburst. Definitely.
You almost made me forget that you don't play Bailey.
That's another. It's another thing I get a lot of flack for.
Who needs it? Fairy Whisper, the Sea. You don't need that stuff. You don't need Breeze. You don't need any of that. You're
Yeah.
just playing good stuff.
Yeah. Next up, I played against a Fire Terror Spectre Kongming that was kind of playing a more aggro burn package. Getting in round 4, I went against the Fire Terror Kongming. This was that Dakyao matchup I talked about earlier, where I was digging for that Dream Fairy. Um, Opponent definitely had an interesting deck. It was pretty standard on Fire Burn with a little bit of aggro in there. Uh, but yeah, when you make Dragon and put a Frenzy Counter on it, the aggro kind of peters out when they can't punch through the taunt that's still active.
That sounds so annoying to
Oh,
deal with.
it was. It's just back and forth, drawing, just waiting. And then eventually I got the Dakyao down and got the game from there. This was also a matchup that I made the turn 2 Dragon in because I did not feel like dealing with Dakyao again. Then getting in round 5, played against Serene Fire Luxem Xander. This was Log from Lineage Break. Great opponent. Had a little bit of rough draws, so I felt a little bad there. Um, but I got that one 2-0. This was the game that I built the Unyielding Wraith Guard in because he started getting some steam back. Ended up killing Dragon. Yeah. I then fired back a Regal Inquisition, so we kind of sat there for a little bit. Had the Wraith Guard on board. Of course, it doesn't do a whole lot, but I was trying to stop like striking Illuminance. Um, and then I played an Asin, picked up Brisk Windtrotter or something. Anyways, I had an Asin on board, and then I tried to Brisk Windtrotter it. He killed the Asin in response, so his counters went on unyielding. Then it already had 2, so I played Asin to pick up the Windtrotter that Asin. That went through. He killed that one in the next turn, and then next turn I drew 2 more Windtrotters. I was like, well, I guess they're going there because
Might as well.
it's it's the only ally I got on the board.
Sounds like a movie of a matchup.
Build your own Gildus. uh, Moving on to round 6, I played against the Water Unique Allies, the Rain. Um, I got that one 2-0. It was really came down to controlling influence and just again using the like Song of Frost is a really big problem for Dragon because your own attack trigger fizzles. So it's a lot of like playing around that, not doing the Byakos on the attack, and just controlling the board, which eventually that's one of the matchups that I try to play higher influence on because I can make more
Makes sense. Makes sense. Did you find that playing against water in such like a wind, primarily fire floor was a little more difficult for Dragon, or did you find it just you just got to change gears a little
plays. It's just a different place though. Dragon, aside from things like Song of Frost, has a decent matchup in the water just because you have a big taunt. So if they go the ally route, you make use of the taunt and res stand. Um, Water allies definitely got some good ones and distorted. Definitely can be annoying, but definitely it's always been a decent matchup, especially when you have the cleave. Um, but it's definitely still something that water has tools and you got to play around them.
bit. True, true.
Moving on to round 7, I played against the fire aggro Lorraine.
That sounds spooky.
Oh, it was. This one was piloted by Coheed, great opponent. Fire aggro is just always spooky. It can take games. That's like I took this match 2-1. Couple close games. It's just again resolute stand is just massive in that. There's just times where you got to take the defensive play and hold the res stand, and it can swing the entire game. Yeah. Then round 8 was against main deck Mitch from on Water Fractals.
Shout out the goat, by the way.
Not something I necessarily expected to see after the dissonant ban, but it's always been an okay matchup for Dragon because Dragon just output any level 1 deck is okay for Dragon because if you get there, the damage output is just crazy. Arcane Blast is most of their health. Um, but
Did it feel any different playing against a deck like Fractals where it was suboptimal? I don't want to say suboptimal. It's playing against it without its tools like Dissonant, like Lost in Thought, for instance, because I know that recently just got put on the ban list.
well, Fractals never really relied on Lost in Thought because it doesn't play the mill strategy, but it definitely felt a little less like aggressive. He did pull out a really cool Zhang Jiao play I had never seen before, and using Grail to make Scepter, and then when you only have 2 Fractals on board, and still getting that draw 2 by cracking it and banishing the 1 card you put down in response. Like it was really cool tech to see.
That's big brain.
Definitely made me be like, "Oh no, I'm in danger," but he didn't have lethal, and I was able to crack back with Dragon for lethal. So.
Sounds like one of those matchups that it's really just haymaker v haymaker.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
it all the aggro type decks is just can you survive? Can you kill the dragon? Like that's how it is. Then moving into round 9, last match of the day for day 1. Um, I did lose this one, leaving my record at 6-3. This was another Serene Fire Jin. This was the one where like I played Baby Greens. Just I played him at the right times. He just had so many cards in hand that it didn't matter. Um,
Jin feels like it's a pretty rough matchup.
Jin's a rough matchup for anything that relies on it that doesn't have fast speed. Fast speed is hard to not have in the Jin matchup, specifically because you can't surprise them with it. Everything you do, like so, it's a lot of putting them over lethal, seeing if they can heal back on their turn, hoping they don't kill you instead.
Yeah, that's true. You're
Um,
definitely playing a game of chicken.
yeah, and that's a lot of what you do is you play the game of chicken of, all right, I'm gonna put you over lethal, just past the spirit. I'm gonna blip your plate. Can you heal out of it? And just hope. That's why it's another one of those where Regal could come in pretty handy, assuming it doesn't get incapped or you find it. Moving on to day 2, uh, round 1 of day 2, round 10 of the event. I was against Serene Fire Luxum. This was Parker from AoE, another great opponent. Round 1 of day 2 got a little interrupted by an emergency broadcast through the hotel, but
Talk about a sketchy moment at
where
Ascent Boston.
everybody panicked, like, what's going to happen to the event? But It only delayed like 40 seconds. Uh,
True, very
yeah.
true. I
So
felt like a lot of people continued to play.
no, we all were told to pause, and we did. We were sideboarding from game one, because our game one was rather quick. But I ended up getting that match 2-0. Moving on to round 11 overall, round two of day two. I played against a somewhat local player, so felt a little bad.
DMV local.
Yeah, DMV local. Felt a little bad. He did great for his first event.
Yeah, for real.
He started playing 3 months ago.
He was killing it.
It was cool to see another first Ascent player in the top, in day two. Um, he was on Fire Aggro Suzaku, another one that is terrifying. Um,
Yeah, he's a good deck.
it very much so is. He had the Arthurs and stuff in there. And then the game three, the winning turn was when I, instead of playing the turbo route, I took the turn to just Dream Fairy, play an unyielding Wraith Guard, and it just bought me the time I needed to get Dragon and secure the win.
Sounds fantastic. I really wish that game would have been on stream to see two
Oh,
DMVs playing against each other.
it felt like it was crazy because he made the sword, and I had a feeling he was going for a Blazing Throw play. He called a judge over to make sure he could target through Spell Shroud with a skill, and you can. Um, but it came down to that was the damage he needed for it to kill Seiryuu, and I still have my lineage release available to me, which had me sweating.
That's definitely sounds like a nail biter of a game.
Yeah, so I got that match 2-1. I was feeling really good about day two so far, and then the losses came. Next round, I was against Corinthian, again from AoE, also piloting Serene Luxem Xander, and just mopped the floor with me. This was those exploit vulnerability games. I just didn't have the answer when I needed it. The first game, I drew Resolute Stand right after he thieving cut with exploit.
Oh, painful.
Yeah, and then the game after that, he had the Striking Illuminance to go over the Resolute Stand. So
That's gross.
this is also one of the more oppressive Ryle matches I was a part of, because we all know when Ryle hits and hits and hits, it gets ridiculous. And it just shows the strength of it. But it's nice to know that it doesn't always do that.
Yeah, true. And you also that loss was to an outstanding player. I mean,
Oh
Frankie
yes,
is a great,
and great rapport. The whole it was a fun match, and that's one of my favorite parts of the game is it's just great opponents.
Final round though.
Final round, I played against another Water Unique Allies, Lorraine. I was up a game, and then I lost two. This was the match I talked about some of my misplays in, but it's okay. Still pretty proud of my record. He's a great opponent. Punished me with Halakline Scout when I overextended. So
Hey, for someone who, I mean, for you specifically, someone who yes has topped a few regionals, hasn't ever really been to a big event. I mean, you didn't go to nationals with us,
this was my biggest event ever for card games.
and I mean, you took it down 38th place.
38th.
38th place out of 269. I mean, that alone is a super big deal, not just for our team,
Yeah.
but for you as a player in your card game career. I mean, that's outstanding to see someone who, to think that we started a year and a half ago, to watch you develop as a player into going to an ascent and striking fear into people is just absolutely phenomenal to see. And I cannot wait for our regionals to watch. Not just y'all day two, not just watch the Bobby Tortilla win it all, but to see only orange shirts at
Oh
that
yeah.
top eight. I can't wait to see that happen. I'm super excited for that.
We're on the up and up. Look out.
Yep. I appreciate you taking the time with us, brother. We will catch you, I imagine, in another deck profile video here soon.
We'll see.
Peace, guys.